Formally, welcome to all of you for this fifth interaction and the 10th session overall on the practical wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Indeed, today is the most practical of all the wisdoms of Bhagavad Gita because what we're going to do today is Karma Yoga. So far, we had been doing what would be the wisdom aspect of the Gita, but the practical aspect may have been a little lesser. So we have completed 30 shlokas of Jnana Yoga, which we did over the past 6 sessions, 5 sessions. And now we're going to be doing Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga, we have 8 shlokas that I have chosen from chapter 2 and from chapter 3, because these are the two primary chapters which deal with Karma Yoga, though Karma Yoga is, of course, mentioned all across in different parts of the Gita. So particularly in Karma Yoga, the subtopics we have are the path of selfless action. We have 6 shlokas there. And then we have a concept of renouncing actions, which is also a part of Karma Yoga. We'll understand how that happens. And there are 2 shlokas there. So overall, we have 8 shlokas, as I mentioned, of which we'll be doing 5 today. And they are all from the same theme, which is the path of selfless action. And therefore, with this brief introduction, I will straight away step into the shloka itself. Unlike the last time where I had actually gone through the shlokas of the previous class, since we are starting a new topic, Karma Yoga here, I have not gone through the previous shlokas because they relate to a different topic. Otherwise, that was the practice that I thought is useful to establish the connection of ideas. So welcome, Vishwarup. And
Welcome.
now, yes. And now let me take you to the first of the 5 shlokas on Karma Yoga that we have today. This is, of course, the most famous shloka which we would have all heard. And therefore, I will chant it out for you. And then we look at analyzing this shloka for the meaning that it gives and for the guidance it offers. So the chant is like this. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhu ma te sangostva karmani. So the Anvaya is the prose order. So we can split it into 2 sentences basically. And the sentences are Karmani eva te adhikaraha ma kadachana phaleshu karma phala hetu ma bhuhu ma te akarmani sangha astu. So if we analyze this, we will find that the shloka has got 1 do and 3 don'ts. So what is the do? The do is given first. Karmani eva te adhikara, which means karmani eva is only in action, te adhikara, you have the right. So you have the right to perform the action. That is the simple meaning of karmani eva te adhikara, and it's a do. It's an action, it's a positive action point to do. Then here is the first of the don'ts or the negative indicators. Ma kadachana phaleshu. Ma kadachana means never, phaleshu. So which means your adhikara. So the te adhikara is for karmani only and not for the phaleshu, the phala or the fruit or the outcome. We'll look at understanding this in the next 3 shlokas, next 3 slides. So let's look at the simple word meaning as of now. So the first sentence works out to be karmani eva te adhikara ma kadachana phaleshu. So never is the adhikara to the phala or the outcome or the result. Then coming to the second sentence, karma phala hetuhu ma bhu. So again, what does it mean? Karma phala hetu ma bhu. Let not the fruit of your works be thy motive. Therefore, when you do any work, the karma phala hetu means reason or driver or purpose. So let the karma phala not be the driver of your action or driver of your motive to work. Okay, ma. So that ma is a negative. It says don't. So ma. So karma phala hetu ma. Mat karo. Don't do. Ma te akarmani sangha astu. Ma is again no. So ma means neither. Te akarmani inactivity. So there should not be inactivity to which you are attached. Sangha is attachment. Astu. Astu is a verb. So the third negative is do not be attached to inaction. And therefore we have simple perform action, do not perform for the result, ma kadachana phaleshu. Okay, do not perform again with the objective of the karma phala. So we need to distinguish between ma kadachana phaleshu and karma phala hetu ma. These seem to be similar, but we will distinguish between the two. And akarmani, that is very clear. So akarmani is at one extreme. So in between we have two no's, ma kadachana phaleshu and karma phala hetu ma. So let's understand the difference, at least in the translation. Let us see what it is, and then we'll come to understanding the difference, the subtle difference between the two. So the translation in flowing English is you or thou has a right to action, but only to action, never to its fruits. Let not the fruits of thy works be thy motive, neither let there be in thee any attachment to inactivity. And in Hindi, कर्म करने में ही तेरा अधिकार है, फलों में कभी नहीं है. कर्मों के फलों को कर्मों का उद्देश्य न बना. अकर्म, कर्म परित्याग में भी तेरी आसवित ना हो. आसवित ना हो. I'm come across that word the first time, but I think it means attachment. Now let's look at.
I think it's asakti. It's asakti.
Right. Asakti, you're very right.
It's not asvit.
Right. Thank you. I was just wondering, I've never come across this word. You very correctly pointed out that is asakti.
It's a half ka.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks so much for that very keen observation, Sunil. So looking at the meaning, we have now this shloka is such an important shloka that Professor B. Mahadevan, who actually teaches operations management in IIM Bangalore, he's written a paper on karma yoga, particularly looking at this shloka. So he dissects obviously the shloka into four aspects of work. So karmanya vadikaraste is the doer has a right to work. So if there is work, it is your right to do that work, because work exists for its performance. So work and performance are like two sides, or work or execution. Performance may not be, because performance will of course include how you did the work, but work and execution, that's the more appropriate phase. So when there is work, that work demands execution. That is the first point. Ma phaleshu kadachara. Now what this means is the doer has no control on the outcomes or fruits of action. So you don't really control it, because there are so many factors that play into the outcome coming forward or outcome being achieved, that it is not that you as a doer. So the phrase doer is very important, because we are not making a generic statement. We are making a statement with respect to you who are the doer. So while I had mentioned for point number one that work needs execution, a more appropriate way is work needs an executor, and that executor is a doer, and the executor has a right to execute, but the executor or the doer has no control over the outcome or the fruits of action. This is the first negative understanding. Second one is ma karma phala hetu. So hetu means reason, or hetu means karan, iske hetu, or the objective, or the driver, or the motivator, right? So this Professor Mahadevan interprets as the doer also, I'm adding also, has no control over the root causes of the fruits of action. So you have an outcome and you don't have control on two, Because basically you don't have control on 3. So 3 is the deeper exploration of point number 2. You don't have control over the action, the outcome of the action, because you don't have control over the root behind the outcome itself. So it's like root cause analysis. So you have no control over that, and therefore the 2 and 3 are distinguished. Ma phaleshu kadachana and ma karma phala hetubu is a matter of degree of moving the effect uh, to the cause itself, saying that you don't have any control over the cause of the entire matter. If the result is the effect, then the cause is something over which you have no control. So it explains why ma phaleshu kadachana is the law, because you don't have any karma phala hetu, you have no control over that. Therefore, the final point is, since it is your right to work, karmanye vadikaraste, therefore Mate sango astu akarmani. There is no choice to revel in inaction. So you just cannot, because work means execution. Work does not mean inaction. So it's a very simple sort of statement of fact or law that Professor Mahadevan has reduced the entire shloka to. And of course, it's a great driver. Now let's look at understanding this in a slightly diagrammatic way. And the diagrammatic way is like this. So, in fact, this is from an American leadership author who did not have the shloka in mind, but was talking about how work is to be executed. Now, usually we are so caught up by the outcome, mujhe ye milega, mujhe wo milega, that if you look at row A, which is goal directed activity with a certain area of the rectangle, and goal fulfillment activity, it is like Sheikh Chilli. Sheikh Chilli was always thinking of the goal fulfillment. If I have this, I will do this. If I do this, I will do that. So his entire focus was on goal fulfillment activity, and that is why the area of that rectangle is given higher. But if you're a true karma yogi, then you would in fact be focusing everything, because karmane vadikaraste. So your goal directed activities will be of the greater area or greater measure, and your goal fulfillment activities would be negligible. We have just shown it diagrammatically. Actually, you will not be bothered about goal fulfillment activities, because goal itself is not under your control, but work directed towards a goal is under your control. So this is a way of understanding and getting clarity on the meaning of the shloka. So it does not mean, so the arrow points to the fact that your goal has to have, your activity has to have a direction. Because many a times when this shloka is chanted or is given as a reason, people will say, how can I do work without a result? So the arrow points to the fact that there must be a purpose. Now, you're not someone who's going to do fragmented aspects. So you will be directing your work with a purpose. But whether the purpose is being fulfilled at the end is something that you cannot control. But obviously, it will never be fulfilled if you don't follow the arrow or the process or the paddhati of the work. So that is why the arrow is important. But mentally, we should not be spending time on the fulfillment. We should be spending more time on the directed activity. That is the learning that we have in this shloka. Now we come to the next shloka, which is the very next shloka itself, in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita. So 2.47, 2.48. So let me chant this for you. So here goes. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So that's the chant of the shloka. The anvaya is, Hey Dhananjay, Sangam. Sangam we recognize from the previous shloka. If you said, Sangam Tyakva, Sangaha. Sangaha means any attachment. So the same meaning is attached here. Hey Dhananjay, Sangam Tyaktva, Chodkar, Siddhi Asiddhyo Samo Bhutva. That is, Siddhi is success, we understand that. Asiddhi is non-success or failure. Okay. Samo bhutva. Samo is the same as same. Bhutva is to make. having become, or having become in your mental attitude, having become the same in your reaction to siddhi and asiddhi, and that aspect of your thinking which renders you balanced in siddhi and asiddhi, that is yogastha. You are full of yoga, you are balanced, fixed in yoga, karmani kuru. So do your job, therefore. So the definition of yoga is samatvam yoga uchyate, because you cannot have samatvam or balance unless siddhi and asiddhi is made the same. So the definition of yoga itself is given here. Samatvam yoga uchyate is the final definition, but the intermediate definition defines what is samatvam and what is yoga. So samatvam is siddhi siddhyo samaha, and since you have to have the siddhi and asiddhyo balance when you're doing work, that becomes yogastha. Now that is when, in the spirit of karma yoga, with the whole mindset of karma yoga, which is balance between success and failure. And why balance between success and failure? Because of the previous shloka. You don't have any control over the outcome. If you don't have any control over the outcome, then it is foolish to be worrying about siddhi and asiddhi, because you can't control it. It's like having anxiety over what you cannot control. And therefore, when you get rid of that anxiety and when you are balanced to whatever is likely to come, so when you do any execution or when you are the executor of any work, there could be siddhi in that work, there could be asiddhi in that work. And therefore, when you are balanced and open to anything, now you don't work, your arrow is not directed towards asiddhi. Because if the arrow is to be directed towards asiddhi, the arrow would point in some other direction. It will not point towards the goal fulfillment. So your job is towards goal fulfillment, but not to have your mind occupied by the goal fulfillment. And that way of doing work is called samatvam. Samatvam is what? Balance, equality. So you have balanced both success and failure, and therefore you are doing your karma yoga with the right attitude, and therefore the definition of karma yoga is also there in this shloka. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So coming to the flow in the English sort of translation, fixed in yoga, do thy actions, having abandoned attachment, having become equal in failure and success. For it is equality that is meant by yoga. Hey Arjun, आसक्ति का परित्याग करके सफलता और असफलता में समभाव रखते हुए अपने समस्त कर्मों को कर, कारण इस समता को ही योग कहा जाता है. In fact, the Hindi is always, more powerful in terms of its ability to get to the right emotion of the shloka. Now let's come to an understanding of the shloka in a slightly more deeper way. So here is what Professor Krishnamurti, I think I had mentioned him earlier on, I have not mentioned the names here. This is his explanation. So he says that this shloka gives a specific how of what is prescribed. Correct? So it gives the methodology of execution of karma yoga. Be fixed in yoga, says the method. And what is yoga is explained in the shloka itself. Yoga is nothing but equanimity. And what are we supposed to be equanimous about? It is equanimity with respect to success and failure. And this assures us that we are not desirous of the fruits of action, because fruits of action, you can only desire one. You cannot desire both success and failure. So you have to be balanced between the two. So ma phaleshu and ma karma phelo hetubu are both assured. Incidentally, because we have been enjoined to do our karma, so we say, you have the right to do only karma as yoga. This process of doing our work has got the name of karma yoga. So it's a beautiful, in fact, to chant 2.47 without chanting 2.48 does not give you the full flavor of karma yoga. And the people who object to karma yoga, how can I do work, do so because two shlokas are not chanted together. Always 2.47 is chanted and 2.48 is left hanging, because 2.48 gives you the methodology, saying that you cannot desire for both success and failure, but success and failure are the two options that will emerge. Therefore, unless you are balanced with respect to the two, you cannot execute your work with efficiency. You cannot execute your work with capability. So efficiency is in fact one more concept that we are going to be talking about. So 2.47, 2.48 we've done. Now let's look at 2.50, which is one of the next shlokas. When 2.49 we are not doing, 2.50. So this says, Buddhi yukto jahati ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So we have one more definition of karma yoga here, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Now let's look at the Anvaya. Buddhi yukta sukrita dushkrite ubhe iha jahati tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So there are three sub sentences here. What's the first one? Buddhi yukta. So one whose intelligence has attained to unity, which means you don't have a fragmented buddhi, because you are having what is called samabuddhi, right? We learned, samatvam yoga uchyate. So when your buddhi has got that sama, that balance towards siddhi and asiddhi, then it is not being pulled in two directions. So when you say yuktaha means, yukti hai. Yukti means it is integrated. So buddhi yukta is only one who has got samatvam, because what he does is, and since he has got samatvam, he is buddhi yukta, then sukrita dushkrite ubhe iha jahati. So the good work and the bad work, which is equivalent of saying success and failure, good things and evil things, ubhe, dono, iha, in this world, jahati, he casts away, because he is balanced. He is not attached to either sukrita or dushkrita, which can be interpreted to mean he is not attached to success or failure, because obviously when you are successful, as they say, nothing succeeds like success. So no matter how badly you did the work, if you are successful, people think you are great. And no matter sometimes how well you, so sukrita can lead to asiddha yoga, and dushkrita can sometimes lead to siddhi also. And therefore, you have to be balanced in one sense. You got to do sukrita. So you cannot say that, oh, by doing the work badly, the other person achieved success. Therefore, I'm also going to do my work badly, because that seems to be the root of success. But that's not true. It is unpredictable. Neither good work nor bad work is called for you. It is only good work that is called, but good work does not necessarily lead to siddhi or asiddhi. It can lead to either of them. So therefore, you have cast away, you have mentally kind of understood the way, because you have done. See, why is it that we at an older age are more balanced? Because we have seen and executed a lot of work, and we are capable of handling asiddhi also. For example, yesterday, you know, the handling that we had of a very simple matter, internet not being there, I gave a ring to Sunil, and Sunil immediately said, "Are you not able to send WhatsApp?" So that's his experience in dealing with this. So there is no regret, because if internet is not there, it's not there, and therefore we look at what to do further. And of course, there's a sukrita that is happening because of the internet not being there yesterday, which is hopefully we have a better and faster network today. Simple example. So to get this kind of balance when we are younger is what the whole challenge of teaching karma yoga to our children would be, and they will see it in our attitude, in the way we handle things. So these are matters of great importance. So coming to the second sentence, tasmat yogaya yujyasva. So Krishna is bringing Arjuna back to the reality that he has to fight a battle, and he says, with this balance in your mind, so your buddhi should be yukta buddhi, not ayukta buddhi, and then it should be samatvam, and therefore you are jahati, you are casting away all this good work, bad work stuff, and with that kind of mindset, fight for the yoga that you have within you. Yoga ya yoga ke liye ladai karo. And therefore there is a third definition of karma yoga that is emerging here, yoga karmasu kaushalam. So obviously, you need kushalta, you need skill to actually do the sukrita and to undo the dushkrita. And therefore, yoga karmasu kaushalam is the way this is defined. In fact, yoga karmasu kaushalam is also the motto of, I think, one of the public sector organizations in India. I don't know which one, but I remember seeing that. And now coming to the meaning of this, one whose intelligence is attained to unity, casts away from him, even in this world of dualities, both good and good doing and evil doing, and therefore strive to be in yoga. Yoga is skill in works. Probably the Hindi will give us a better sense. जिसने अपनी बुद्धि को भगवान के साथ युक्त कर दिया है, ओके दैट्स फाइन, वह इस द्वंद्वमय लोक में भी शुभ कर्म और अशुभ कर्म इन दोनों का परित्याग कर देता है, इसलिए समत्व बुद्धि रूप योग के लिए प्रयत्न कर, समत्व बुद्धि रूप योग ही कर्म का कौशल है. Fair enough, right? It's more or less expressing what we thought. So this is an interesting, comment we have. Yoga is efficiency in action, says the last quarter of this verse. This is famous. This is a famous statement to be imprinted in gold. What is this efficiency? The efficiency consists in maintaining evenness, equanimity of mind in success and failure in action. And here the classical commentators Shankaracharya and Ramanuja say with mind dedicated to God, which is what has come here. You can see where he has said that Bhagwan ke saath yukt kar do. Without dedication to God, one cannot be equanimous to success and failure. And once this equanimity to success and failure is there, the action is rid of all motives. So neither merit of the action nor demerit of the action devolves on the doer. And when one works with such dedication and with the efficiency of samabuddhi, then even actions that usually bind do not. Hence, karmasu kaushalam, yoga karmasu kaushalam. So essentially, when we have this balance, in fact, there are some 25 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita which talk about the samabuddhi. In fact, I strongly think we should take up that as a separate topic itself, how to understand the various aspects of samabuddhi, because that is an important ingredient to karma yoga, as we have seen. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll add that as a topic, but of course, the number of shlokas will increase. So we'll first finish what we have at hand, and then we'll perhaps take up buddhi, samabuddhi, as a concept to be explored from various shlokas in the Gita. Now coming to the 34th shloka, which is now from chapter 3. Therefore, we have Yastvindriyani karmani manasa niyam yaravate arjunah karmendriyai karma yogam asakta sa vishishyate. So, hey Arjun, yah tu manasa indriyani niyamya asaktah karma indriyai karma yogam arabate sa vishishyate. So, there are two conditions given. Of course, hey Arjuna is the Sambodhan. Yah tu manasa indriyani niyamya. The one who controls the indriyas with the help of the mind. Now, what indriyas do you control with the help of the mind? You control the jnanendriyas. Jnanendriya is the sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. So, with the mind, when you can control your jnanendriyas, asakta karma indriyai. Then when you have without attachment your karmendriyas, which is your hands, legs, your speech, and then your organs of evacuation and reproduction, when you can, with the jnanendriya control, when you have no attachment, or you can also further control the karmendriya and make the karmendriya unattached to the object, which is karma, indriya artha. With that, when you start your work, karma yogam arabhate. When you start, then sa vishishyate. So when you are such a person, so yaha and saha. So these are the two conditional. So yaha, and it prescribes the condition, and saha, it prescribes the result. So what are the yaha? What is manasa indriyani niyamya? Condition number 1. Asakta karma indriye. 2. Then only when these two are fulfilled, karma yogam arabhate. Then you start your work. So two of the conditions feed into the third, and when you therefore start your work with these two conditions fulfilled, then you excel in the work that you do. So vishishyate. Visheshan we understand, it means something special. So he who controlling the senses by the mind, O Arjuna, without attachment engages with the organs of action in the yoga of action, he excels. किंतु जो मनुष्य मन के द्वारा इंद्रियों को संयमित करके अनासक्त होकर कर्मेंद्रियों के द्वारा कर्मयोग योग रूप में कर्म का अनुष्ठान करता है, वह श्रेष्ठ है. So this Hindi is always clearer. Now let me come to a very interesting way in which this has been explained by one of the other commentators. So he says, ordinarily we spend a lot of our life energies in the fields of sense objects. The control of the sense organs by the mind is the negative aspect of the entire technique of right living. So don't do this, don't do that. That's as much important as what you do. So when the sense organs are thus controlled, we are conserving a large amount of energy. And unless this gathered energy is given immediately to a more profitable field of activity, it is sure to explode within and upset our personality. The second line of the stanza answers what we should do with the energy thus saved from the usual field of dissipation. It says that such energy must be spent in directing organs of action in appropriate fields of activities in a spirit of perfect detachment, karma yoga. So when we can, if you are able to control our senses, if you are able to thereby control our organs of action, so there's a lot of energy that is released because it is not getting dissipated. So when you have that load of energy within you, if you don't do anything, then you will find yourself getting restless, and therefore your control actually reduces. So you have to devote yourself to something which the energy can be directed towards, and therefore doing something which is of value to the company, or doing something which is of value to society, or doing your karma yoga, in other words, is the way in which this sense control makes itself useful. Otherwise, sense control for the sake of sense control means you are simply pumping up a balloon without giving the balloon a way to actually be useful. The balloon will keep on expanding, but you must give the balloon some outlet for it to do some work. And therefore, it is very important that we not only control, but we also have an outlet for the controlled energy. So it's like law of conservation of energy and activity. So energy plus activity. Now you have increased energy, you need to give that energy to some activity so that there is some kind of balance that is being maintained. Then finally, we come to the last shloka that we have in the Karma Yoga plan for today. And this shloka is a very famous one in the sense that, if you recall, Sachin Tendulkar had to score his 100th century. And that 100th century, he was not able to score for a very great length of time because every time he was getting out on 50s and 60s. There is a Bhagavad Gita teacher in Bombay named Jaya Rao. She's been teaching Bhagavad Gita for many years. So she actually quoted this shloka and gave advice to Sachin. Of course, it was in a public article in Times of India. So she was hoping that he would read it. So what is this shloka all about? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasya vigatajvaraha. So in terms of the Anvaya is adhyatma chetasa, which means that aapka chit, your mind is focused on God, which is what we had said, or on the highest, with a consciousness founded in the self. Mai sarvani karmani. So sarvani is in me, that is dedicate. Sarvani karmani, all your work, to the higher energy that you have, to the to the principle of the Brahman, which is the universal consciousness. So dedicate adhyatma chetasa mai sarvani karmani. Then sanyasya, that is you're dedicating, giving up. What are the other things you're giving up? So you are not the doer, you are saying that I am dedicating it to a higher cause. That is the meaning of the first phrase. Nirashi. Nirashi means be free from asha. Asha is desire. It's the same thing as, karmaneva adhikara, say that kind of, outcome anxiety. So the outcome anxiety for Sachin at that point in time was the 100th century. And I'm sure that all of us recall the kind of anxiety. So she said, give up your nirashi. Don't aspire for that 100th century. Nirmamaha. Nirmamaha is be free from egoism. Vigata jwaraha is do not have feverish, do not get kind of, caught up in the petty anxieties of the moment. And with that, you can fight. So I have a beautiful explanation of this in terms of time. We'll come to that because it is from another commentator whose works I had read. So giving up your works to me with thy consciousness founded in the self, free from freedom, desire and egoism, fight delivered from the fever of your soul. So what do we have here? Nirashi, Nirmamaha, Vigata Jwara. So we did that, Yudhyasva. Now let's look at how this is explained. It's beautifully explained, in fact. It conveys the meaning very precisely. So he says that this is the core or the essence of the Gita in terms of Karma Yoga. So there are 4 principles. One is renounce all activities in me, act in the world as a representative of God. Now comes a very interesting understanding of how these 3 ideas of Nirmamaha, Nirashi and Vigata Jwaraha, how do they explain themselves in terms of time? So when you say without hope, what we mean is without dissipating energy over anxiety for the future. So future is taken care of by being Nirashi. Nirmama means without egoism. Ego is the sum total of our past. Where past is not remembered, ego has ended. So with egoism, there is no past. So Sachin has to forget that he has made 99 centuries. So there is no ego. There is no past. So there is no worry about the 100th century. There is no ego of the 99 centuries that he has scored. And therefore, what he had to do was fight without fever. Thus, after getting rid of past and future, we act in the world without the feverish anxiety over the present action. Then success is assured. So obviously, when you are not worried about the 100th century, you don't have the ego of the 99th century, you will focus on the ball and you will score the century that is required. And that is how he scored the century. So that's the very clear explanation that we have of this shloka, and that's why, at least in my own understanding, I understood it far better after it was put across by Jaya Rao and this happened, I think, in 2012 or 2011, so 9 years ago. So with that, I have completed the 5 shlokas that we have
the past and future.
And I'm going to stop the share and then we'll get back to discussion mode with Sunil, Rajesh, Vishwaroop and Sunil. So I think I'll start with Sunil Rastogi. Oh, Sunil, you're about to leave?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So let us begin with Sunil.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Okay.
Shall I? Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. In the shlokas, it is said that we have to dedicate our actions to God and get attached with Him. And so, my question is, should we don't feel ourselves responsible for our results getting not favorable, unfavorable result? अपनी हार का जिम्मेदार खुद को मानेंगे तो कुछ उससे improvement करेंगे. How to go about for improvement? Say कुछ deviations हुए, we didn't get success. So how to restart and then what so that we are satisfied?
Yeah. So this dedicating your actions to God is a double-edged sword. You can use it to say, God is responsible for success and failure. I don't have to do anything. But that is not the intention behind the statement. It simply says that you have to recognize that the guidance for doing the right things comes from God, but in spite of that guidance, you may not do the job in a way. See, there are 3 results that can come. Either you get what you ishtam, Anishtam Mishram. This is the 18th chapter. They say any work that you do has got only 3 results. Ishtam is what you want, success. Anishtam is what you don't want, which is a siddhi or failure. And Mishram is mixed success and failure. You got a few things you wanted, you got a few things which you did not want. So these are the 3 possible results. So in my understanding, samatvam means you should be so you should always improve your work, because yoga karmasu kaushalam. So आपको कर्म में कुशलता दिखाना ही है, and that you keep improving. But just because I improve today, it doesn't mean that I will get the result tomorrow. And also other way around, just because the work was badly done, sometimes I'm surprised. You say, "Arey yaar, this is going to fail." And suddenly you find it has clicked. You don't know why it happened. But then that is no justification for doing bad work. But sometimes it happens to us. You did not expect success at all, and suddenly things have worked for you. And people praise you. You know inside yourself that you did a bad job. You could have done better. Correct. And therefore, we need to be balanced there. So there, if I say, no, you know you've done bad work, but now somebody has praised you, then you say, no, I did work very well. Then you're being a hypocrite, because अंदर से तो आपने कुछ और किया है, बाहर से अब कुछ और praise आने पर आप उसको लेने की इच्छा कर रहे हैं. Then it's not fair to your progress in work. Yeah, that is what I would like to respond.
That is, purity comes, I understand it. Purity comes when we attach with the God. So purity comes, we are purified, true to ourselves.
Okay. Correct. So you will not try to fool God, no? If you try to fool God, then you're in trouble. Okay, I think Vishwarup had a question. Vishwarup, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, actually, my experience tells me there are actually 3 things about God. I don't, it is not my words, it is what I have read. The Sat, Chit, Anand. Sat is the principle of external life. Chit is the Buddhi, highest level of knowledge. And Anand is bliss or heavenly joy. इसको प्राप्त करने के लिए what we have to do is, Lord Chaitanya said that you have to elevate yourself to the level of infinity. That is, you have to give yourself to God. Tell God, everything, your feelings, your, what should I say? Your feelings, your thinking, everything you devote it to God. What you rightly said, what I felt about when you were discussing about karma yoga, you said that you have to have the highest level of energy. You have to convert. You are converting all your negative energy into positive energy by doing this, because you are eliminating the negative energy stored in your sense organs, and you are just concentrating on your goals. This is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, in fact,
I don't know how far I'm able to give clarity, but this is what I have understood.
No, you're right. You have to, dedicate yourself, because unless you have the dedication to higher energy, you will not maintain the balance. Now, coming to the point that has been made by Sunil ji in the chat, where he says some people think of success only while taking journey towards a goal. It increases chance of success. I would not put it in those words exactly. I would say that all the activities we pursue are directed towards success. But when we are pursuing, we should focus only on the task, not on whether it is successful or whether it will be a failure.
Correct.
But we have to be open to, so I'm not thinking of failure. I'm not thinking of success. I'm thinking of the, task only. So
that you already explained in the graphical. That
yes,
you already explained.
Exactly. So your focus must be only on goal-directed activity, not on goal.
Not the fulfillment.
Correct. I think that was the biggest, thing that I saw, which helped me to understand. Because once you see those 2 things, we understand we are always there in goal fulfillment activity. Success mein kya hoga, ye hoga, wo hoga, and then we lose track of. So Sachin was also in that. No, if he scores the 100, he will be the only person. So as long as he's in goal fulfillment activity, he could not score his 100. When he is in goal directed activity, he could score his 100. This
I would
happens
like
to all
raise
players.
one
Yes.
point here. I would like to
Yeah.
raise the point here. Actually, in modern leadership and goal setting seminars, I in fact
Yeah.
myself give a lot of such seminars. Many times people say that unless you set the goal, you will not follow the process even.
Correct.
So,
So
do we have any content in Gita which tells us about goal setting rather than the process only? Because Karma Yoga is more about process.
about what goal to set? So yes, there is. It says that, you know, given the fact that there are 4 temperaments in the world, the kind of goals that 4 temperaments will set will be having these qualities. So it does not tell you what goal to set. It
Okay.
says that the mentality you will bring towards goal setting will be this. The attitude you bring towards goal setting is this. It is in the 18th chapter where I'll just pull out. I'll tell you 1 minute. So what it says, I'll just say 1 minute. Yeah. So it says that when you are setting a goal,
Can you tell the shlok number?
shlok number, I'll tell you, this is, it does not directly say goal. So I will say 18th chapter.
Yeah.
You should look at shlokas. 1 minute. Yes, 17 onwards. Shloka 18. Shloka 18 to shloka 40.
Yas naha krato bhavo.
Yeah, 1 minute. Shloka 18. So, no,
18
shloka.
17 was
So,
yas naha krato bhavo.
Yeah, no.
18 is
17
jnanam
is.
jayam parigyata.
So 18 onwards, all the way up to 40. In fact, that merits one more separate
Okay.
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, we should have that, because you know these are the topics that are getting thrown up. Because I will tell you, one full book on leadership has been written based on these shlokas. Okay, I'll just pull out that book for you. It is called. So based on these shlokas that I have mentioned to you, Sunil,
Yes.
this is the book that is written. It is From Smart to Wise.
From smart to wise. Okay.
Yes, it is by 2 leadership facilitators based in the US. One of them is Indian. And see, he says, I'll just read out for you. So the author acknowledges, he says, first and foremost, our profound gratitude to Professor V. Krishnamurti. He introduced me to the 6 leadership principles enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita and encouraged me to explore whether those principles could be practiced and validated in today's management context. Okay. So the book of V. Krishnamurti is this one. It is called Science and Spirituality.
Yes.
So in this book, he proposes for the first time that our personality is dependent on the factors that are mentioned in shlokas 18, chapter 18, shloka 18 to 40. When you look at that, it helps you understand what kind of character you bring to the. So the point that I'm making, to answer you very simply, is goal setting is a function of your character and personality.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the simple sum and substance of all this.
Okay.
So kind of goal you will set is an outcome of what kind of person you are. आप सात्विक हैं, राजसिक हैं, तामसिक हैं. And you know, one thing is very clear when you do the analysis, that nobody is sattvic 100%, nobody is tamasic 100%, nobody is rajasic. You know, we are all a mixture of all these 3, and they also, you know, it's like a dynamic. It is like 3 flywheels moving or 3 dynamos moving. So and contributing to the current energy you have. And we need to, I think we should take up one topic, additional topic is on Samatvam. There are some 25 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita which give you different aspects and methodology. Second one should be this whole character analysis, which is not a part of this, but we'll take it up. We should take it up because this group will find it very interesting.
Rajshekar, I will suggest about
Yeah.
Samatva, what slokas you are referring 25. You kindly give us the numbers so that at
Okay,
least
I'll
we
do
can
that.
go through it. We can go
Yeah.
through it, then we can have a discussion.
Sure. I have all the numbers available with me. Sab
Yeah,
masala
kindly
hai mere
do
paas.
that. That
I'll
will
do
be more
that.
useful.
Yeah, sure.
Once we come prepared with that, then it will be
Correct.
more understanding. And we'll have our
Absolutely.
own explanation for that.
Absolutely, 100%. Because this is the charm of the Gita. All interconnected masala is there, like noodles.
Yes.
You start with one idea, it will go here and there, all over the place.
Second thing,
Huh.
for me, my understanding was about Gita was about action. But you
Huh.
had taken only 8 slokas in this
Huh. Correct.
out of 90. So I was
Yeah.
thinking it will be around more about actions. While you have covered more about the bhakti and more about the gyan.
Huh. So now
With the
this
objective
is
to achieve to Param Shanti. What we were looking, what I was personally looking for, some more action.
Okay. So then, okay, fine. So the thing is that in the current selection, I have given a greater number of shlokas to Jnana Yoga, 30 of them.
Gyan yoga.
I have
And
not
bhakti
given
yoga.
that many, but if need be, I can change the mix. Okay. If you want more on Karma Yoga, we will pull out. So what I will do is, given our discussion and the fact that we are the people who are meeting very regularly, I will share with you the shlokas for Samabuddhi because it is very important for Karma Yoga, and we will take up that next week. Okay. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
Yeah, we'll do that. So that will be a direct outcome of the interest that we have in this group for greater Karma Yoga in terms of
some buddhi.
Samabuddhi. So Samabuddhi ka what I will do is immediately after this session, I will send you all the shlokas that are there. Then I will put together all the masala. I will read all the commentary.
One
and we'll
more
come
point
to
I
you.
wanted to raise was
Sure.
that was currently you told us about this goal setting means the personality of the person who is setting the goal.
Correct.
I was also looking for something related to goal setting by a group, by a team.
Okay.
And many times the team personality definition becomes little difficult as compared to the individual personality. So
Yes.
if you can find
Yeah.
something related to group goal setting.
Group goal setting, to the best of my reading of the Gita, you will not find directly. But what it will say is the personality of the leader. Now, it very clearly says that, many are called, few are chosen. So I'll tell you what they mean by that. So leader ka महत्व बहुत ज़्यादा है इसमें. So in chapter 7, there is one shloka, third shloka, which I'll just read for you. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschid ma veti tattvata. So what this means is hardly one among thousands of men strives to realize me, and of those striving men, again only one rare person understands me. So what the Bhagavad Gita goes is, it says that we need one person with character and he can change the entire team.
Character is very
So it accepts that there are more tamasic people on earth than Rajasic, and less of. So the intention is that you change the character of the leader, the entire team changes. You cannot really change the character of all the individuals. So whatever is called collaboration stems from the energy of the leader and the character of the leader. So you may want to have 2 or 3 influencers in the group, but unless, there is a very famous statement made by General Norman Schwarzkopf. He was the defense secretary in the US under Clinton. And he was, of course, a retired army general. And after 35 years of serving in the army, when he retired, he was asked, General, what's your view on leadership? So he says very clearly that, look, I look for two aspects, competence and character. He says, competence can be taught. Yeah, I can teach you how to fire artillery. I can teach you any damn thing. But if you do not have character, I cannot teach you anything. So character is very important, and character is what the Bhagavad Gita develops. So that's what we need to appreciate and understand. And it may not give too many competencies. It gives few competencies because, you see, you're dealing with people who want inspiration from the Gita. So I'll sift out the character part of it and the competency part of it. You know, that's what this book does actually. Team building may, this, you know, smart to wise, what this book does is, it looks at how the character of the team itself changes when the leader is a wise leader. Vis-a-vis when the leader is a smart leader. Now we have a lot of smart leaders, you know, who can do all things, but wise leaders, uska different pata hai. So I think, you know, now we are actually hitting something of great importance to all of us. So next
Who are
week is
author?
Samabuddhi. Maybe the week
Rashika,
after
who
that
was
we
the
will do
author for
leadership.
this? Who is author of the book?
Which one?
Smart to
Acha,
Wise?
this is
My
Yes,
Prasad Kaipa.
Smart to Wise.
Prasad Kaipa. I will send you the link. I will send. Yeah, not to worry.
Okay.
I will send you on WhatsApp the Amazon link for this. Don't worry. So I'll send you two things after this session. One is all the shlokas of Samabuddhi, and secondly, the two books that I spoke about. Science and Spirituality by Professor Krishnamurti, which is where he proposes the whole funda, and this is the book which comes after that. You know, this man was inspired by Krishnamurti. You know? So I will give you these two books. तो एक तो है गुरु और एक है उसका चेला, और हम वो चेले के चेले.
Okay, please share in practical Gita Gyan WhatsApp. Okay.
Yeah, ठीक है. I'll
One more request, sir. What presentation is that? He also load on the drive. All
Yeah,
past
it is there in the
presentation.
drive, no?
No,
All presentation.
I didn't find the 6, 7, 8 presentations in the 6, 7, 8, 9 presentations
Okay,
in
I'll
the
just
drive.
check that out. I just check that out.
I think it has not been uploaded in the drive.
Yeah, I'll just check that out. I'll just check that out because I put it in the same folder. Yeah.
I will do one thing, Pastor, if you can help me on that. That for each of the presentation, whatever has been in the form of video, I'll put a link to that drive within that video also. Will it be okay?
Yeah, because I have shared it. Let me just check whether there is some error in the drive,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So 3 things I will do, and we can catch up next week. But now we are getting interesting. We are getting into interesting. Yeah. Thanks,
Okay,
Siddharth.
thank you
Siddharth.
very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We are moving towards our goal now.
Absolutely. Practical wisdom. Okay. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Okay, all the best. Thank you.